Who would have thought that this game's storyline would be so divisive that people will be sending death threats to the actors over the game's storyline? This is what happens when you don't get laid. Actually, no, wait a minute, because I'm not getting laid right now. This is what happens when you're just stupid. So The Last of Us 2 is the highly anticipated sequel to The Last of Us, which was a game that came out in 2013 for PlayStation 3, and it is created by developers Naughty Dog. And Naughty Dog has actually become one of my favorite video game studios. Like, I really enjoyed the Crash Bandicoot games, all of the Uncharted games, and the first Last of Us game. And for the most part, they have never disappointed me when it came to a game release. So I was super excited to finally get my hands on Last of Us 2, especially when the trailer dropped for this game, I believe last year. Like, oh my god, I could not wait for this game. And finally, it is here. And in this world, most of civilization has been destroyed by this mutated version of the cordyceps fungus, which now can infect humans. And the humans become a various form of zombie-like creatures called the infected. And this game takes place 5 years after the first game, where protagonist Joel Miller escorted another character that you play as, Ellie, who is a character that is immune to the cordyceps fungus, and they never really explain how she's immune, why she's immune. But anyway, in the first game, he's trying to escort her to this base in Salt Lake City of a militia group called the Fireflies. Their sole purpose is to discover a cure for the cordyceps fungus. Spoilers for The Last of Us: at the end of the game, Joel reaches the Fireflies base and they begin to start their process of coming up with a vaccine for the cordyceps fungus. Well, Joel soon learns that in order for them to develop a vaccine, Ellie has to die because the cordyceps fungus attaches itself to the human brain. And so the key to her being immune is in her brain. So they would have to study her brain. And so Joel became very attached to the character of Ellie, especially considering he lost his daughter many years ago when this outbreak first started. And so he basically went rampage and killed all the Fireflies and escorted Ellie's unconscious body out of that facility and basically lied to her, saying that that a cure isn't possible. And they ended up moving in and settling in a new settlement in Jackson, Wyoming. And in this settlement, they eventually come across this new group of people called the WLF, the Washington Liberation Front, led by a new character that you play as, Abby Anderson. And Ellie and Abby eventually come into conflict. And I mean, there are so many people that hated the storyline for this game. Like, so much so that, like I mentioned, they're issuing death threats to the voice actors. They're signing change.org petitions to get Naughty Dog to completely redo this game and change the storyline. Like, they're going on review sites and review bombing the game. Now, some of those review bombs are based on the fact that Ellie, the main protagonist, one of the main protagonists in this game, is an out lesbian character, and say they don't like the fact that they have to play as a lesbian woman. But regardless of whatever your reason is for hating this game, if you're going out and sending death threats or you're making change.org petitions, more so the people that are making death threats, if you're the one of those ones and you're watching this review and you're sending death threats to the voice actors, you're trash. And I mean, I get it. Like, you can hate a storyline from a game or any type of property. There's been plenty of movies that I've come on this very channel that I hated and I ranted about. Like, I hated The Rise of Skywalker, but I'm not sending Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Oscar Isaacs, Adam Driver, or Ian McDermott death threats. Like, that's crazy. Me personally, I really enjoyed this game a lot. And I always say, one thing I love in my video games and one thing I love in my fantasy is blood, sex, gore, and magic. And this game had it in spades. Not so much the magic, but this game deals with zombies, and zombies aren't real, so it's close enough to magic. But before I get to the storyline itself, let me just talk about all the other things that I enjoyed about this game first. Like, the gameplay for this game, like, they brought back a lot of the elements from the first game, and I definitely feel like they kicked it up to an 11. Like I mentioned before, in this game, there are various types of creatures known as the infected, and there are many ways that you can go about killing them. And you can slowly sneak up behind them and take them out quietly. You can simply shoot them in the head, or my favorite thing to do, which you can only do with the weakest of the infected, called runners, you can simply brawl out and take them down. Also, in this game, every so often, you have a partner with you, and your partner helps you in taking people out and infected as well. Also, being that this is one of the last games coming out of PlayStation 4, this game is one of the most beautifully rendered games I have ever seen on PlayStation. Like, aside from, say, maybe Red Dead Redemption, I've never seen a game look this good in terms of graphical detail. Just look at this moment right here in this game where Naughty Dog was able to capture the look of struggle on this man's face as one of the characters that you play, Abby, is choking him out, and it just looks awesome. Also, throughout this game, just like in the first game, you can upgrade your weapons at a workbench, and just the way that it's done looks so realistic. I honestly just enjoyed upgrading my weapons just to see how the characters do it and how it ends up looking in the game. Now finally getting to the story itself without getting too much into spoilers. Like, in this game you play as Ellie, who you remember from the first game, and you play as a new character named Abby, and both of these characters are on a quest for revenge. And the thing that I liked about this game is that it just shows you that if you allow yourself to be consumed by revenge, if you allow yourself to be blinded by hatred, not only will you lose everything that you love, but that thirst that you have for vengeance changes who you are and flips your morals to the point that you become unrecognizable to the people that you love. And I mean, we kind of saw this in Star Wars, where Anakin both literally and figuratively became unrecognizable, whereas at first he was Anakin Skywalker, the chosen one, but because he let fear and hatred consume his heart, he literally transformed into Darth Vader, a completely different person. Also, for the most part, this game just doesn't let anyone off the hook. Actions have consequences, and in this world, you have to do some pretty terrible things in order to survive, and whether they're justified in your mind or not, and also as an audience member and as a game player, you can empathize with the characters for doing terrible things, but at the end of the day, they're still terrible things, and eventually karma will catch up to you. And also, I think this game does a brilliant job in illustrating that depending on your perspective, anyone can be the villain in anyone else's story, even somebody that's considered the hero of the story. And like, take real life, for example. Like, to some people don't like me. Some people would consider me an asshole. Maybe they misinterpreted something I said, or I've been told plenty of times by a couple of my friends, when I get excited about something, sometimes my passion can come across a little aggressive, and sometimes my tone may come across as a little aggressive, even though that's just not what I am. I'm just excited, and maybe my voice gets loud, but some people might take that as an attack. Some people might take that as me being aggressive. And so to some people, they may say, oh, Michael's an asshole, I don't like him. Or maybe I was just having a bad day and I was an asshole to somebody. Not intentionally, but then that was that one person's interaction with me, or their first interaction with me. And usually first impressions are lasting impressions. And so in that person's mind, I'm an asshole. But then if you ask my friends and family, well, I'll still be an asshole, but they at least love me. And I feel like this game did a great job endearing me to characters that I would automatically assume were villains, and basically just showing, like, depending on your perspective, the people that we think are the heroes are actually the villains. And I'm trying to dance around the issue because I can't get too much into spoilers, but I feel like that's essentially a good starting place without getting too deep into spoiler territory. And for those that have played the game, know exactly what I'm talking about. And I think part of the hatred in many ways stems from the fact that regardless of what Naughty Dog tries to tell you about the shifting perspectives, if you still just don't care, even once the storyline is revealed, then I guess maybe that's why you hate this game. But me personally, like, once the storyline was revealed, and actually let me backtrack, like, another thing that why people hated this game was definitely The Walking Dead and Game of Thrones when it came to casualties. Like, no one for the most part was safe because your actions have consequences. And that's the thing I feel like people didn't like, that people that you love and characters that you enjoyed weren't safe. But going back to what I was saying, once you get to the reason of why certain characters had to die, Like, honestly, I couldn't even be mad at that point. Once the storyline continued to unfold itself, I was like, well, if I was in that same situation, especially considering this is a kill or be killed type of world, I probably would have did the same thing. Yeah, I completely understand and empathize. And also, another thing that I loved about this game is the voice acting was phenomenal. Like, for the most part, I feel like everything about this game was pretty tight. Like, yeah, in many ways, I do feel like the ending was anticlimactic, but ultimately, I like the message and story that this game told, in the fact that I feel like what Naughty Dog was trying to say with this game is the saying, an eye for an eye would just make the whole world blind. Ultimately, if you hunger for revenge, it's gonna still leave you unfulfilled in the end, and you may end up losing more than you gain. And also, something else that I enjoyed about this game, this is one of the rare games where you actually play as an openly LGBTQ character. Like I mentioned, Ellie is an out lesbian character, and not only just lesbian in name only, but her sexuality did play a large role in this game. Like I mentioned, I love blood, sex, gore, and magic, and what's in that? Sex. And there was definitely some sex in this game. And not only just the L in LGBTQ, but there was actually a trans man in this game, and he was one of my favorite characters in this game. I really enjoyed that character, and interestingly enough, and something that I applaud Naughty Dog for, the voice actor for that character was also a trans man. And so, considering I did recently just do a video about why representation matters, I'm here for it. Give me more video games with gay leading characters and trans characters and bisexual characters and lesbian characters, all of it. But yeah, honestly, because the way the storyline ended up crafting itself by the end of the game, and I know it's blasphemy to say this, but I ended up liking Abby a little bit more than I liked Ellie. I would say The Last of Us 2 is definitely worth buying at full price. And even though I didn't like it as much as the first game, I still say The Last of Us 2 is a blockbuster. I'm pretty sure I'll probably enrage some folks, because some people watching this review probably wanted to watch me hate on it, but I didn't. So what did you think about the game? Are you one of those ones signing the change.org petition? Let me know down in the comment section below. Also, if you can't hit that thumbs up button and like this video, it'll really help out the channel. And if this is your first time watching one of my videos, please check out the other videos on my channel. And if you like what you see, please subscribe for more and hit that bell notification button so you're alerted every single time I post a new video. And tell your friends, families, and neighbors about my channel to help me continue to grow. And as always, I'll catch you guys next time.